to another episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, the show where we talk about all the crazy stupid stuff that people do in marketing and how not to do that. And today, in particular, we are talking about how to not do crazy stupid stuff when it comes to the relationship between product and marketing. And as we shall see, there's a whole bunch of things that end up happening in this relationship, some helpful, some unhelpful. And these are the types of things we're going to reveal today. If you are joining us for the first time on the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, hello, welcome. I'm Tracy Morrison. I am your host. And let's start with a brief overview. What is crazy and what is stupid when it comes to crazy, stupid marketing, or at least minimally in the context of this show? So here on the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, when we say crazy, we are referring to things that people do over and over and over again, expecting a different result, aka the definition of insanity. Second, stupid definition of the show is things that you do for which you have no idea why you do them. You're doing them because someone else told you to do them. You do them because you're always doing them, but you don't actually have a good reason why you're doing them. So we're going to consider those as stupid things in terms of stupid marketing. And we're going to talk about this relationship between product and marketing today. I know, right? Catherine is noticing our color coordination. We didn't even plan that. It was awesome. But we're going to talk about this relationship because I feel like a lot of the things I hear are like product makes product and then marketing promotes features. And that's kind of a very simplistic way of looking at the relationship between product and marketing. And so today we're hopefully going to bust that open and look at some more potentially meaningful connections that can exist between product and marketing. And in order to do that, I'm not going to just be a talking head. We're going to talk about it. And I have the lovely Barbara to join me in this conversation today because she knows much, much more about the product and product marketing relationship than I or probably any of us in the audience have. So she's going to drop some, I was going to say gold nuggets, but then I was like red nuggets, like just really good nuggets of information, regardless of what color you want to make them. And by the end of the episode, here's a very important rule about the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, folks, is that this is not a place where you get answers. Sorry. It is a place where we open the door of possibility. So we're going to talk about a bunch of things, and there's going to be ideas, and there's going to be stuff that resonates with you, and there's going to be stuff that doesn't resonate with you. And all of that is, first of all, just life. But second of all, your opportunity to pay attention to the things that resonate and take those things with you into the next conversation, a further conversation, instead of taking all of the things, because we can't possibly carry all of the things. All right. With that being said, should we meet our lovely guest for today? I think we should. So Barbara, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and the journey that you've been on through product and marketing that has brought you to where you are today?
Sure. Thanks for having me on the show, Tracy. For those of folk in the audience are going to go, who's Barbara? Because I go by Barbie. So I wish it was the Barbie doll, but just the Barbie, short for Barbarina, as my Italian roots sort of have leaned into. I started out life a long time ago as a fashion designer. And I use that word very broadly. I studied fashion, initially made ball gowns and wedding dresses, and realized that if you wanted to make a living in terms of from product perspective, you needed to get into the clothing industry. And that was another ball gown altogether. I think today, the clothing industry still accounts for one of the largest producers of individual products put out on a daily basis anywhere out of all of the various industries, right? So that was my background. And when we created products and designed products, we worked with the buyers and we worked with our customers, but marketing as a tool was something completely separate. So it was a case of we came up with products. We knew who our customers were, or we hoped we knew who our customers were. And once everything was done and dusted, it got parceled off and sent through to the marketing department, who took it from there. And over the last, I won't say how old I am, but more than 25 years in product development, I've moved from fashion through to cosmetics, and all sorts of things. I've worked in the wood industry. I've worked in the steel manufacturing industry here in Canada. I've been here in Canada now 7 years. I've had the privilege of working in the cosmetic industry. I've worked for steel manufacturing companies and even wood manufacturing companies. So the same principles apply regardless of whether you're looking to build products for skincare, or I believe whether you're looking to buy products for software, even though the systems that you follow are different and possibly the processes are different. What's really important is that if you don't put the customer at the focus, at the heart of absolutely everything you're doing in terms of, why am I designing this? Why am I creating this? Why am I building this? Who's this for? What do they want? Are they going to actually buy this, and are they going to come back and buy from a brand again? Because if you're creating a product just for the sake of a once-off product without the ultimate objective being that customer is going to go home and go, oh my gosh, I can't wait to come back and get the next product from this brand, then you shouldn't be creating products.
I love a bold stance on the show. And it's really interesting because I do feel like also in this day and age of creating technical products, which is seemingly faster, lower barriers to entry, these different types of things, that there's a lot of people who are creating products, right? It's like we got apps to make other apps. It's like all kinds of stuff. But I think this comes back to the key question. And let's talk about like the challenge of this and having like silos, right? So like a silo for product development and a silo for marketing, even historically, and how you had seen it, where like we do this and then we pass it off to marketing and we're not really like working together. We do this, we do that. This question of who is talking to the customer, I think can get forgotten very easily. And it's one thing to say like, okay, we have a very good like due diligence process of our product development team talking to customers, doing surveys, doing focus groups, doing those types of things. I think that role is also very commonly held by the marketing team. But I also don't know, like, if we polled all of the companies in the world and asked them who's talking to your customer, I don't know that they would all be like super clear on who's talking to the customer and when.
Well, yeah, I would agree with you. And I think even more than that, I think if you had to go into the company, and it doesn't really matter whether you're talking about a company of 3 people or whether you're talking about a company of 300 or 300,000 people, if you walk into that company and you say, well, what does our brand mean? What our products do? And what do you understand between the two? A lot of people are going to give you a lot of different answers, and those answers aren't always going to actually align. So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're sort of saying is that we do tend to operate in silos, but the message, and I keep coming back to the customer. If you're not putting the customer at the heart of every decision, then it's very, very hard to get that message aligned. And in fact, where I find, so I mean, when I started out working a little while ago, I worked for really, really big brands such as Woolworths, Marks and Spencer's, Levi Strauss, and then retailers in South Africa such as Truworths, Miladys, Edgar's. Those are all fairly large retailers within the South African market. Over the last 15 years, I've sort of tended to focus on more indie brand founders. So purpose-driven brands and founder-led brands. And what I've would say is the same is that link between the creative process and the marketing process, like you say, are siloed regardless of the size of the organization. So putting the customer back at the heart of the conversation creates that resonance and alignment. I mean, for me, I don't want to turn around and say I hate marketing. I have
there's good marketing and there's bad marketing. There's crazy,
absolutely.
stupid marketing.
And there's great product development and there's terrible product development. Right. So I went out a couple of years ago and did a postgraduate degree in brand strategy so that I could get a better grip around how that relationship should look, right? I mean, more recently, I've tried my hardest to try and keep up to date in terms of what digital marketing means and where it fits into the entire process and all the rest. But it's constantly evolving, and especially with the whole AI aspect, it's evolving so fast that we're sort of at the point where you need to let the specialists do what they do. And that runs into this challenge exactly again of siloed development. Mm-hmm. So I think understanding the role that we all play, and again, putting back down to the customer at the heart of everything. So here's the whole concept is resonance. So if you've got, I'm going to use a brand that I created a little while ago, which was waterless shampoo brand. So shampoo bars, conditioner bars, the whole brand philosophy was no plastic packaging. Mm. The product was amazing. It came in a paper box, which was 100% compostable. So there was everything aligned. But I didn't have the marketing budget for marketing once everything else was done. So if you have a great product and you have a fabulous brand, but you haven't actually taken into consideration, for example, all your legal compliance, which FYI needs to be an overarching layer across everything, and you don't invest heavily enough in marketing, you're completely wasting your time. If you have a crappy product and you spend a fortune on marketing, as long as you keep pouring marketing dollars in there, you might get some kind of return on your investment. But the minute you stop pouring the marketing dollars in, nobody remembers who the brand was or what the product was for because it wasn't special.
Right. Or like worst case scenario, you have people who buy it once and then think it sucks and never buy it again and tell all their friends that it sucks.
Correct, right? 100%. So then what have you wasted your time creating? And that's why I say the whole relationship between making sure that your brand strategy is aligned with your product architecture, your systems are really, really important, and then go and market the hell out of it. I feel too much emphasis on marketing the hell out of it without making sure you've got the building blocks in place.
Yeah, or like in my experience, one of the things that I see happen very commonly is worrying about marketing too soon, right? Like, yes, and this is why I always say this on the show, right? Like, there's some crazy, stupid stuff that people do in marketing that you should just stop doing it, right? If you stop doing it today, it would be better for your brand and it will save you a bunch of money and you can reinvest that money in more impactful places. That does not mean don't do marketing. It means
sure. So
don't
give us
waste
some
money
examples.
on marketing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things I see very, very often is people doing digital ads. So people will do digital ads, and the two big problems that happen there. One, you have a product, people buy it, they don't like it. So you have to keep doing digital ads forever. And you can spend a lot of money doing that. Mm-hmm. One of the other things I see happen very commonly is that they'll do a digital ad, and digital ads are very good at capturing attention. But then what they're asking someone to do, like if you're a custom tech development center and you're going to charge $1 million for someone to create a thing. You took them from interest to like sign up for a demo, and that jump is too far. And so
Yeah.
there's a craziness that's happening in that middle part there, which isn't like, the beginning part isn't wrong and the end part isn't wrong, but there's something that's missing in the middle. So we need to like figure out how to bridge that gap. But when we don't do that activity, we just spin and spin and spin. And then we're like, oh, we can just optimize the landing page. Like, no, you can't just optimize the landing page. It won't do anything. You can optimize this landing page for your entire life and it will accomplish nothing because it doesn't fill the gap. You need another step. You need another something. You need a trust point, or you need a conversation, or you need something that a landing page cannot serve. So you can't fix it with the landing page. That is an example. I mean, there's also a lot of examples like come in where I like audit people's association memberships and things like that. And I'm like, oh, you paid $200,000 for this association membership a year. What do you get out of that? And people are like, I don't know. I don't go to the events because I have to pay extra for the event. So I don't go to them. So I don't use the network and like all the things. And I'm like, you could just not spend that and like save you're not even spending any time on it. So you're not saving any time in that scenario, but you could just save the money, right? And it's one thing if it's a professional organization and it's part of your like legal compliance to be able to doing business, that's a different thing. But there's a lot of marketing signups that people do that just it's like no one ever asked the question before, what do you get out of this? Because they don't know how to, it's nothing.
Right. I think that putting the cart before the horse. I mean, for me, I see, and I'm now commenting in terms of specifically founder-led brands as opposed to bigger companies, which have a marketing department where there's a little bit more strategic involvement from an agency, which would tend to provide a degree of insight that a lot of smaller companies don't have, right? But that whole concept of marketing spend, which I think is really, really, really important at the right time, needs to be strategic. So it's a case of, well, what's the point, for example, of running digital ads if you don't have a decent sized customer database? And then what does a decent sized customer database look like?
Right, because that could be very different based on your product type.
Right. And then how do you go about doing that without digital ads? So I think the issue also comes down to is when you're spending your money on marketing, to differentiate how that plays out. And in terms of marketing, because I mean, marketing is a lovely catchphrase word, and I'm using that here.
It's a very big bucket. Let's put
it's it that way. Very, very big bucket, right? So I mean, for me, the whole concept of customer trust, if the customer trusts you, then they're probably going to actually have a look at what the brand has to offer. If the customer trusts the brand, then they're probably going to look at whatever new product you're floating out there. But it has to sort of start with you.
Yep. Well, and I think I love what Catherine is saying in the comments here. If you don't know you and you don't know what, then you shouldn't be shocked that you aren't getting anywhere.
Right.
And I would say that is equally relevant from a product and a marketing point of view, right? Like, I was having a conversation with a company recently that does drone manufacturing, and they do drone manufacturing for this industry and this industry and this industry and this industry. And I'm like, why did you pick those industries? Right? Like, you have personal connection to those industries. You have a like specific like fabricating tool that like builds drones that have purpose there. Like what led to that? and I just got like a bunch of blank stares.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh, good. Yeah, because we can all do a lot of things. I always say I can shuck corn. Yes, but I don't like go around and be like, hey, who would like me to help suck corn for you today?
right.
And also get marketing services, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, like we can all do a lot of things. But what are we here to do? What who are we here to serve? Who are we here to help? And I mean, that then brings me back to this conversation about the customer.
So yeah, so I mean, if we talked about this the last time we chatted, which is the place for that very, very big marketing bucket, which has so many different elements, needs to come in at certain elements of the product development and launch stage in different ways. And it's really important that you have the bandwidth and the budget and the strategy to be able to do that, and that they need to operate and come together cohesively. So if you're pulling together a brand, so this is something that we actually launch mid-February, is a 90-day build a brand from scratch to launch program, which is a little bit scary. I haven't done that before. So I'll keep you posted and let you know how it goes.
I mean, you know me, I love a good, this is an experiment. We're going to see what happens.
Well, I think that's exactly the thing. There is so much out there at the moment in terms of how to do it and what to do, and nobody's actually showing you, like, putting their money where their mouth is and saying, okay, you know what? We say we can do this, and we're going to do it with you and show you exactly how it works, right? But that concept of putting together marketing into the product development process, because we talked about that. Like, some companies have a product marketing department dedicated, and they work with the product development team. I wish we'd had that when I started ArtLife, because it would have made life so fabulous. We had a color department. Which particular shade of orange are we going to use this season? But the marketing department was completely separate. Maybe that's changed today. So
I would say that is I don't think it's completely changed. I think maybe there's industries that have slammed them together, but I would actually I've heard a lot of people use the phrase product marketing, and the format is the same, right? Like, product develops the product, and then they hand the product to marketing, and then marketing markets the product, right? And that's what we call product marketing. And again, like, there's no 100% here. There's some people who actually have integrated product marketing teams, but there's also equally people who still do it that old-fashioned way, but call it product marketing.
Yeah,
which makes it doubly confusing.
Right, because at the end of the day, for me at any rate, when you're working with a development budget, you want to make sure that your money works really, really hard for you. And the two biggest holes in the bucket are time and the cost of time. And like you say, the stupid aspect of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, or trying to save time, doing it in a way that's not cohesive, and it costing you a fortune in trying to actually sell something that nobody understands after the fact. So
yeah, I think this is interesting too, because one of the things, I see a lot of people who are like, this is B2C, and this is B2B, and this is retail, and this is tech, or this is steel, right? And we create all these like subcategories. But I think there's a really important underlying foundational thing here, which is the customer. We're selling products to customers, folks. It's like what we're doing. But at the same time, remembering, because when we talk about silos, I think the important thing to remember is that regardless of how you decide to like segment your teams, right? You have a product team and a marketing team and a color team, or you have like steel production and you have operations, right? Like different industries segment all of these things differently. But throughout the product life cycle, there are multiple touch points for a customer. And so like when we started off the show, the example I kept thinking of was grocery stores, right? And like if my question is who's talking to the customer, the answer is the people who work at the tills are talking to the customers. And in the whole hierarchy, this whole system, those people are like, first of all, highly interchangeable, right? We treat them as highly interchangeable.
Yeah.
And second, we do not collect information from them usually. Or one of the things I always think about too, when I was early in my career, I worked for a furniture retailer and we had a delivery department. And I played basketball with some of the guys who drove the delivery trucks. I was in marketing. And they would come up with all of these ideas like, oh, this would be so much better if we could just take the orders on the day and like we could route them, because the way they route them is crazy. And then we don't get time for lunch breaks and we're trying to eat while we're driving and it's a company truck and like all of these things. And I was like, have you told anybody these things? And they're like, no one asks us. These are the people, this is the very last touch point that a customer gets, the guys who deliver their furniture. This is a very important touch point.
And I think it actually goes beyond nobody asks us, because I think that hierarchy is that when those interchangeable team members go to a different department, which is I'm trying to be very politically correct here, filled with a bunch of office folk that think they've earned their stripes at being there, and the other guy, he's just driving the van. They don't listen.
It's true.
I had one of my kids actually worked for a company here in Canada, and he was straight out of university and babbling with all these great ideas. And he kept going to his boss and saying, we should do this. And the boss was like, yeah, you're in the wrong pecking order, go back to your bench, kind of thing. And then when he eventually did try and extend that, he got nowhere. And I mean, I listened to it. It's just like me listening to a kid chatting, right? I mean, thinking what a waste, because you've got these resources at your fingertips that you're not even listening to. I mean, you don't need the person to actually go in and activate it, but it would help if you had to listen. We used to have a thing in the company that I worked with, which was a very, very big company, which is the most important person in the company was actually the person that actually cleaned the washrooms. Because that person saw everybody and saw the company and how it worked, and it's like at underbelly level, right? And if you don't value your people, then all the rest of it is a complete waste of time. I'd like to, if you're okay with that, redirect you and just go back to the whole concept of marketing, product, customers, and especially with the difference between a larger company and a smaller company. I mean, you work across quite a breadth with that. Where do you see the link breaking? Where do you see the chain breaking? And does it differ depending on the size of the company?
I mean, there is a general complexity that as a company gets bigger and there's more people, there's less localized like business values, right? Like that's just it's the way it happens, and it becomes, there's more people interpreting what it means to talk to a customer, right? And so for me, again, this is why I find it really interesting, this concept of silos, because I also think like once you get to a certain business size, you can't create management structures and taking care of your employees without structure. You have to have some kind of structure. But how does it integrate with the whole? I feel like this is an integration conversation. So I worked for a small, I would call them a small company. I think at the biggest, there was 25 employees. So small, but like really solid niche product. And I remember the CEO saying to me that sales and marketing could never be run by the same person because they serve two completely different functions.
Yeah.
And I was like, do they? So like my perspective is that like there's revenue generation, right? And as
Yes.
a business, our job is to generate revenue so we can pay all of us. So we can work here. And so like there's things that the HR team does to take care of the employees so they can do their sales job so that they can do the things. Like this is a ecosystem of people.
Yeah.
And when we look at nature, there's ecosystem. Nature doesn't try to be so logical about its ecosystems. It's just like, oh, this works. Crazy bird with flapping wings can live next to alligator because somehow they work together to protect each other's eggs and the alligator doesn't eat the bird. Like they've decided to be a teammate so they can like do these things. But we create the silos from a structure perspective. And again, I don't think that is actually the challenging thing, but we forget to have the conversation about, okay, so now how do we interface with each other? What does that look like? If marketing is talking to customers, which hopefully they are, and frontline customer support people are talking to customers, and sales people are probably talking to customers, depending on how you sell. So like best case scenario, we know we have 3 different departments of people talking to customers.
Yeah.
And if we care about those things being consistent, then we have the conversation about how those are consistent and how that might look for a bigger company is going to look very different than it looks for a smaller company. And the conversation might be more complex. It might have more people in the room. But I think at the end of the day, it does come back to how have we decided as a business to take care of our customers? If we're really that interested in taking care of our customers, I believe that people would map the customer touch points.
They should. I mean, that should be where you start. From a product development perspective, that should be where you start. As in,
well, and this is where I find it interesting, right? Because like I would say from a marketing perspective, that's also where you start. So then what I'm saying, I think I'm saying anyway, I say a lot of things, but like from a business perspective, this is where we start, right? Like we're developing products and we're marketing them and we're selling them and we have people who are taking care of the people who have the products, or we have people who are delivering the products. Like this is all one conversation. This is not 8 different conversations.
So if you had to ask the CEO of a big company, and I think this would apply regardless of the industry, why are we in business? They're going to turn around and say, well, so that we can deliver shareholder value, or so that we can actually generate revenue. And second to that would be how we go about doing that. So for example, we're in business to generate revenue, to generate shareholder value, and to make an impact and difference in the world by producing clothing, gadgets, or whatever the case is that offers the best value for money, or the best quality stuff, or we're saving the planet in some way, or whatever the case is. But that brand message, if you're very, 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 very honest, always is secondary to the fact that it has to be we're making money aspect. Otherwise, that's a charity organization.
Well, and otherwise too, I can't pay my team.
Right. Like, well, that's what, yeah. So I mean, it's not charity.
Enough money to like pay the people to do the things so they can have a mortgage and feed their kids and like pay for their life. That's the point. And if I can't pay you enough to pay for your life, I don't have but then also then that like this now turns into a revenue model conversation, which a lot of people will say, well, that's strategic leadership, right? Or that's like the finance department, like marketing has nothing to do with that. And you're like, well,
Yeah, but that ties back into the conversation you just had just now, which, for example, is like, how do we measure the success of the sales department? Well, it's in how much revenue they generate. How do we measure the success of the marketing department? Oh, well, they're a cost center.
Yes, I hate
right?
marketing as cost center.
And so the real problem lies into re-educating your core team, and especially your CFO, in terms of, hey, if we don't market and sell the products, there's going to be no money in the bank for you to manage.
Right.
Okay. And there's going to be no product for your salesperson to sell. So whether the cart comes before the horse, if the revenue engine, being the horse, is pulling the cart, which is the product, having a fantastic horse without a cart isn't going to generate you any money, because there's no, and having a cart without, they have to work together. But I think where you need to start is whoever is actually signing the checks or managing the finances needs to understand that how you measure those KPIs, your key performance indicators, your metrics, in terms of what represents growth and what represents success, and linking those all together so that it's a strategic initiative, as you said, that the marketing department, the product department, the sales department actually work together. I mean, here's the thing. Can you imagine how fabulous it would be if the salespeople could actually speak to the product development people?
And again, so I was having a conversation with a friend earlier today, and she was talking about like the facilitation of that, right? Because it's all well and good to say like, yeah, it's like a salesperson could go talk to the product development team whenever they want, right? But maybe in the last organization they worked for, that wasn't true. So their experience is not that they can just do that. But if there's also not like a systemic function for these two groups to come together, then, and second of all, I'm not going to go on a tangent on this. I'm just going to state it because I need to do like a whole episode on this. But like, everyone's so busy, right? I don't have time. Like, I'm the marketing department. I got to get all this stuff done. I don't have time to talk to sales. I don't have time to talk to product. I don't have time to talk to customers. Like, really? What is more important than talking to your customers? I'm very confused. But I hear this people all the time, right? All the time.
So I'm going to put this on your plate. There's a lovely South African term. I think it's a South African term. It goes along the lines of culture eats strategy for breakfast. Somebody clever said that. I can't remember who. Might have been Clem Santa, but don't quote me on that, please. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And the bottom line is if the culture within the company is not all aligned and on the same page, then so that, for example, whether it is the person selling at the till or the person cleaning the washroom or the salesperson marketing the product or the product designer designing the product or the product management person, who should actually be the link between all of the above kind of thing, maybe not necessarily cleaning the washrooms, but you know what I mean.
Well, if they're a super friendly person, then they probably know the person who's cleaning the washroom too.
They should do, yes. But if you don't have that that culture, the right culture, which is a culture of curiosity, as I like to look at it, you can't. For me, it's a culture of curiosity that builds growth. It doesn't matter what the structure is, because it's got to flow, and it's got to flow completely across the organization. So your people, whether it's your customers or whether it's your staff, and regardless of whether it's the CEO or whether it's the person who, as we said, is generally regarded as transient, if you don't have that flowing completely backwards and forwards at the, saying the same message consistently, then it leads directly into what your brand says it does isn't what it actually does, and then what your product supposedly delivers based on that brand promise is a falsehood.
Right. Well, and I love what Philippe is saying, and he's agreeing with your point about curiosity here. But further up in the chat, he was talking about it as an HR consultant, right? Like these are things like you can promote all this stuff, and then people come in and they start working, and they're like, "This is not as it was sold to me," right? And I mean, we can go with the general industry buyer beware. But like that is only going to last for so long. If you get a certain amount of employees in that are rotating out every 90 days, like before they're like even a permanent full-time employee, because they're like, whoa, this is terrible. It's terrible to work here. And you promised all these things, and because you have the values on your website, right? You're like, it's not helping anybody. But we also again, like I love coming back to the question about like, how do we take care of our customer? Like this is something, and every department might have a different version of the answer, right? Like, but marketing should know how they're taking care of the customer. Customer success department should definitely know how they're taking care of a customer. Sales should definitely know how they're taking care of a customer. Delivery, operations, HR, right? Like senior level leadership.
Right.
Like, what is the answer to that question? And if we don't prioritize that as part of the conversation, I think conversation also plays a really big role in culture. Like what we talk about is what's lived in the organization. And if we're all just like, I have so much work to do, I just got to go sit in my cubicle and do work for 8 hours. And then I'm not going to say anything because every time I say something, someone tells me to sit down and do my work. So I'm just going to do my work and I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to help because I'm not interested in my help. I'm just going to go get my paycheck, right? And then go home, and I'm constantly looking for another job, right? Like, is that what we're trying to do here?
Yeah. So, I mean, that comes back to that whole concept of the North Star methodology, right? Or ideology, really. It's like figuring out exactly what it is we're here to do and everybody being on the same page. Because then actually everything becomes so much easier, and your marketing dollars go way, way, way further.
Well, and I want to make a quick comment on marketing dollars too, because yes, it's one thing if you're Apple and you have millions of dollars to spend on a Super Bowl ad. Good for you. Right? And you probably have some people in your marketing team who aren't really doing a job that adds huge value to the organization, but you have lots of money. So it's fine, right? No one's looking at it at that point. But we're a small company or even mid-sized companies, because mid-size is really where there starts to be a consistent marketing spend. What is it doing for you? Do you have to spend that much money? What if you spent, I had someone ask a client of mine in an interview, if you had $1 million budget, what would you do with it? And he was like, I didn't know how to answer the question. I'm like, I'm just sitting here thinking, if I had $1 million for any of the companies that I've represented, right? If I had $1 million budget, what would I do? I actually had a client once that I took from a $4 million budget to a $600,000 budget, because I was like,
oh, wow.
You can have this much impact for this much money instead of that much money. And if you want to spend that much money in total, that's fine. But let's spend it on more meaningful stuff than just flushing it down the toilet. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what I would do? I would take my top X number of customers and their families on a 5-star vacation to somewhere hot and beautiful. That wouldn't even cost close to $1 million, right? But you're creating an experience for people. You're taking care of the people who mean the most to your business, who are your customers. You're creating an experience they're going to talk about to their friends. And I'm like, this is so smart. And then I'd have all this money left over. What if there was some really aligned nonprofit businesses that we could put packages together or do partnership types of things and get the PR out of that, right? That would be huge. And we're spending a very small amount of money on something that can be very big. And I think a lot of times people think they have to have huge budgets in order to do something meaningful from a marketing point of view. And I mean, I'll tell you guys, I do this show. The cost of it is like $75 a month for the like high level version of StreamYard, right? Like it doesn't have to be expensive. So I think there's also like when we open the door to the possibilities of like, okay, yes, we want like, we have to do some kind of marketing, right? And then we have to have some kind of investment that's going into product design, whether that's a service package or a physical product, right? Like we got to have a spend and an intention there. And we've got to have a spend and an intention in marketing. And when that intention is the same, and we're all really clear on what that intention is, then we can also say like, okay, I've been doing this and it costs this and it's not generating the thing, right? So I'm not bad. I'm not wrong. I thought it was going to work. It didn't work. Let's stop doing that and like redirect that so we can meet our, we need to call it vision or mission or whatever we want to call it, right? Like the why we're here in business, which is to like help people do a thing, right? Your thing could be help people look more stylish. Your thing could be help people get around more quickly in a fast car. Your thing could be help people be more authentic. It could be create better connection between product and marketing. It could be like, I'm trying to think of who's in the audience. Philippa's doing HR stuff. It could be helping people understand what live looks or like whatever it is. How do you do that? And there might be other people who do it a different way, and that's fine. That's fine. There's space for multiple people. How many like fancy handbag brands are there? At least 4 or 5. Right? And they can all sell an $800 handbag, right? Which still blows my mind. But like they can do that. There's space for multiple people to solve that problem in different ways with different looks. And so how are you gonna do that? And how does that roll out to the rest?
Yeah, I think the big, and I keep going back to, I mean, the whole thing for me and what I'm trying to do is you can't grow something until such time as you've actually plugged the holes in the bucket, because so many folk are pouring marketing dollars, the budget you're talking about now, into like, how do we push the product into people's faces? And I don't know about you, but I actually hate a hard sell. I hate it when I have to sit and tell you, like convince you and bully you into why you need to buy my product or buy my services, or for me that points directly to a lack of resonance. It says, you know, when something becomes hard, then for me at any rate, there's a lack of truth there. So the first thing is fill the holes in the bucket. Make sure that your operation systems can actually deliver what it is that you're promising to deliver. Make sure that you can actually create the service, the product, the brand, the whatever it is that your brand is promising it can actually deliver. Make sure that in terms of the wonderful promise that you're making, in terms of what your brand does, make sure that it's differentiated. Make sure that you know exactly who your customer is, so that you align you know what it is that your product does, what it is that your brand promises, and who it is exactly that product and brand serves together. When you go to market with that message and you're tight and concise and you know exactly who it's for and why they need it, then the marketing usually flows. Here's an interesting thing for you. I love this one. So many companies, especially smaller companies, are so focused on bringing in new customers that there is no strategy in place to nurture your existing customers. I don't get that.
I mean, last I checked, it's 7 times more expensive to get a new customer than it is to keep a consistent one. And again, like I think again, this comes back to your, how do you take care of your customers? Do your customers want, I'll use this example. Yeah, if for those of you who know me, you'll know what car brand this is, but I will not mention it live. The cars that I drive. I have received such a premium brand, and every time I go in for service, the experience is terrible. I take my car to the dealership that is twice as far as 2 other ones because I will not go back to those dealerships because the experience that I have had with them is terrible. And I'm like, how expensive is it to give someone bad service, right? Like, and I'm particularly like customer service related, so you can give me one bad experience and I will not go back.
Yeah.
But like, how and that's expensive. That's expensive for your brand. If every time someone comes in to get a tire change, they never come back, or like that's, I mean, it's nice that they come and buy the car, but like most of your like marginal revenue comes from servicing, right? So now you are getting none of that. And not only are you getting none of that from me, but you are getting somebody who is very actively telling everyone in her network that she knows to not go there, right? Like that.
So can I ask you a question? Is what made you buy that brand of car in the first place?
We have kind of a like family history with the car brand. So like it's the car my dad always drove and it's a safe vehicle. And so you want to like, the first one I had was a hand-me-down from my dad. And then it was just kind of like a thing. It was one of those things. I mean, it's one of the things where if it's not broken, you don't fix it, right? Like my dad loves this. He feels really comfortable and like his daughter's driving them. So like, we'll just keep doing that. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, next time I buy a car, I'm not buying one of these.
Yeah, one of those.
And it like makes me sad too, because I had like a really meaningful like family connection to the brand. And I have received like such bad service experience that I cannot reward your brand for this, right? Like I can't do it.
Yeah.
And so now what you're forcing me to do is to go put my trust in another brand I don't really want to trust as much. But I can't give it back to you. You have made it impossible for me to give it back to you. And this is the thing, like also where like, this is an example of where like product and customer service break, right? But like anytime product and marketing breaks, this is what happens. We let people fall through the gaps. And I'm not saying, again, like once you get to a big enough company size, there will be people who fall through the gaps. It is what it is. But like, there's also this like, I see that you fell through the gaps on this and I'm not okay with that. So I'm going to see like, how can we like explore this process to like not let that happen? Cause I'm also like, there's no way this is only happening to me. Right. Like, I don't think they like have it out for me or anything. I think it's like, this is what's happening. And
it's their culture. Yeah.
Right. And I hear your radio ads and they sound really good. And I've written a letter to the head of the dealership and received nothing back to say that like my feedback is meaningful or anything like that. Right. Like we just go and we push it. And I'm like, this is a thing as a marketer, I just cannot get behind.
So does this not come back to the whole concept of, I mean, you have, for example, product-led brands where really the product sells itself.
Right.
Because if the customer's engagement and experience with the product isn't ideal, then they're just going to unsubscribe and they're probably not going to resubscribe.
Right.
And all the rest. And I'm going to bring that back to, we were looking at buying, we're talking about cars here, just out of convenience. We were looking at buying a vehicle and I wanted to upgrade to an electric vehicle. And I'm going to probably make myself unpopular here. Not actually because I'm going to go out there and save the planet, because I think anybody that deludes themselves that by purchasing an electric vehicle, they're now saving the planet, because when you really go into the science behind it, I think vehicles, regardless of how they're made and what fuel they use or how you get to that, are bad for the environment. And you can go into how bad they are in 100 different ways. The bottom line is vehicles are bad for the environment. So take that off the table for now and just have a look at the fact that, for example, driving an electric car, besides the fact that I never have to go to a petrol station or a fuel station, I cannot tell you how much time that saves me. And it's so easy because I just come home every night and plug it in. So I'm a great supporter of electric vehicles for the aspect of time and money being really practical, right? So I test drove all of them, from the Polestar through to the BMW. Even like we had a little bit of fun with it. So we sort of like, hey, let's try test drive while we're at it. Let's have a look at the Mercedes and the Porsche and the Kia and the Genesis and the Volvo and we did, I think, more than a dozen of them. And I could sit and write a whole thing in terms of which vehicles you really don't want to have a look at from a customer service perspective. But what was really interesting was one of the vehicles that I really wasn't really interested in test driving was the Genesis. And why? Because I'm a vehicle snob. Because in the past, I've driven Mercedes and BMW and Volvo and Toyota, and they all come with really strong branding. And I didn't know the Genesis brand. It didn't resonate for me. I didn't know anything about it. And I was like, that whole thing of, I know what I know and I know what I like because that's what I trust. I test drove that electric Genesis and it was unbelievable. So I can't afford to drive an electric Genesis. Otherwise, I would be driving one here right now. But the customer service, beyond how fabulous the vehicle was, the customer service is unbelievable. And I don't believe that there is a vehicle on the market today from a customer service perspective that can beat it. And so if I had the money to buy a vehicle of that caliber and everything else, that's exactly why I would buy it.
And it's really interesting too, because when you think about brand, like brand is a continual building experience, right? You don't just build, and yes, you build it once and then you hope that you keep that trust. I think this is one of the things that came up for me at Christmas when Coca-Cola did their AI generated holiday ads. And I was like,
gosh.
For me, I was like, you know what? I feel Coca-Cola's Christmas connection through the jingle, right? And like, I hear the jingle, I don't really watch the ad, right? So like, I don't really have a like bad experience with that. And there's lots of, you guys can go and take that away and find a whole bunch of marketers saying a whole bunch of things about their opinions on that. But there's this brand, but a brand can degrade over time if the service doesn't match. And if there's a new brand that doesn't have that branding in the marketplace, but they do have the dedication to the customer experience, both in the product and in the service and the selling, like marketing gets the space to follow suit, right? Like I don't have to lead with marketing. Like there's other ways in. I'm a huge fan of Genesis as well. When I was looking at what else I might drive instead, I'm like, ooh, this one, this is nice. And again, like I don't know this. Like normally I would buy German brands, but like this is on the completely opposite side of the world. Like where do I stand on that? I don't know. But like I think it's really important too, just to see like there's multiple interconnected relationships that we have here. And there's not really one that has to be the lead. They all need to work together. And if they're not all working together, then I would say this is a great opportunity to explore how they could work together a little bit better and
I'm on your page.
Not waste time, effort, money in any of those departments, but actually help your people who are working for you do the things that contribute to us achieving what we're here to achieve, and maybe have some fun with it in the meantime. Oh, okay. Well, we got to an hour again because this is what we do. Even though I'm like it's 45 minutes. Barbie. I'm going to call you Barbie because that's what you requested at the beginning. Barbie with just an I, as you signed your email to me earlier.
Yeah.
Where is the best place for people to find you if they're interested in learning more about you or exploring this connection between product and branding further?
So I have a company called Product Mavens. It's productmavens.org. And hopefully the website will be live soon. We seem to have had a bit of a hiccup with that, and that it's gone down. But otherwise, you can find me on LinkedIn and the Barbie Marengo, Product Mavens. And yeah, that's what I do. I sort of bridge the gap between product development, brand strategy, and operational systems so that we grow without the chaos.
Oh, that sounds pretty good. I think there's probably a whole bunch of people who are experiencing a bunch of chaos right now. So if that's you, you might want to talk to Barbie. And I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody we had in the chat here. We had Coach Carrie, Christy, Catherine, Merrill, Leslie, Ileana, Americo, and Philippe. Thank you guys for joining in the conversation today. I didn't nearly get to read all of the good stuff, so if you were watching this on a replay, make sure you check out the chat comments because there's also some good stuff in there. And last but not least, folks, the relationship between product, marketing, product, and the rest of your business, marketing and the rest of your business, it's a octopus. There's lots of arms and they're going different ways. And so it would be great if having one conversation about it revealed everything you need to know about all of those arms, except that's not real. And that's not what we did today. We did touch on a lot of the arms, but this is an opportunity for you to, again, try it on and be like, oh, I think this is something that could actually really be helpful if we continue to explore from a business perspective. And if that is what is feeling right for you, please do not let this be the last conversation you listen to in that conversation arena, but let it be the first of many that you have. Connect with Barbie, connect with me, connect with each other in the chat, continue the conversation so that we can create this connection between product and marketing that actually allows us to achieve what we're out to achieve in the world. Barbie, thank you so much again for your time today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, permission to do you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Tracy.